By the way, breaking news just came in right now from ESPN. Rob, if you want to pull this up, did you see this or no? Breaking news from ESPN just right now. Jake Paul is set to fight Mike Tyson July 20th.
Swear to God.
Yep.
Pull it up. Right now, ESPN.
Look at that. Let's
Jake Paul,
go.
Mike Tyson set for July 20th on Netflix.
Wow. On Netflix.
On Netflix.
Chael, can I ask
Who's favored in that fight?
Because I saw your podcast where you were talking about, was it Canelo?
Yes.
And how they're talking crap. They don't want to fight him. He's diluting the sport. The guy's bringing the most eyeballs to the sport. Absolutely. He's saving boxing. Question, Chael, this fight, is there a conversation beforehand with like a Mike, with a Tyson, like, hey, don't kill this guy? Is that conversation had, or is it go for it?
It wouldn't be that clear. They would use a different language, such as instead of calling it a fight, I actually don't see the word fight. They're doing this new thing where they call it exhibition.
Exhibition,
and
right.
The government, fighting and combat, MMA and boxing, it is the only sport anywhere except communist countries that is overseen by the government. I mean, when they took Saddam and his kids down, the first thing they did is free the soccer team. Only communist regimes oversee sport, except for the United States in combat. And the reason I bring that to you is it was just so corrupt, the government got involved. You cannot take it easy on a guy. I've heard Floyd try to say that before. I was carrying him for entertainment. Like, that's actually imprisonable. That doesn't happen. But they got this new scam where they're calling it an exhibition. They're selling tickets to an exhibition as opposed to a fight. So what the difference is it looks the same on TV. The commission that oversaw your other fights and even your co-main event gets up and goes in the back. They've now clocked out for the night. You have 3 other judges that are not licensed or real judges, and then you have an announcer just say the conclusion that they came to. The commission will not allow that to happen in the ring. So if you guys happen to see Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., they brought him right outside the ring onto the ramp, and then I think it was a draw, and they raised both of their hands.
Yeah, right.
So that's the theatrics behind that, like that one-word exhibition versus fight. Fight is actually a legal term because it's overseen by the government. I just wanted to share that with you because this is very interesting. I was with Mike Tyson 1 week ago in Saudi Arabia, and I'm sorry for that name drop, but it was a big deal. Like, he's got an aura. When Mike Tyson walked in, I was going to interview him real quick for the PFL with ESPN. It was a real thrill for me. Guys, the first thing I thought is how lean he was.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. Yeah, he's ridiculous.
He's opened a gym in Saudi Arabia. I thought they just attached his name to it and he's really out smoking weed all day. But Francis Ngannou was claiming that he's training him. Mike is allegedly at that gym with Francis on a regular basis. I can't confirm any of that, but this is the story, the way they told it 1 week ago, and now all of a sudden you see this announcement.
By the way, Mike's going to be 58 years old at this fight, and Jake's going to be 27.
Wow. Holy crap, 30 years.
And can Mike still beat Jake or no? At the 30-year difference, Jake gets the edge.
Jake will beat him, but yeah, Mike could go with him.
You think Jake's going to beat Mike Tyson, Chael?
Hey, Jake's the real deal. I mean,
Chael, Mike Tyson.
He's 60 years
Mike
old.
Mike Tyson could be 188 years old, okay? Like Rocky Marciano and Coming to America. He's going to be, look at him now.
Yep. And this is old footage. This is him training for Roy Jones, which I believe was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But going off of what Chael said, Adam, I'm telling you right now, it's an exhibition.
Yeah.
If Mike does that to a Jake Paul, it's going to be ugly.
Okay.
Even at 60.
But let me ask this question.
Right.
Let's ask both scenarios. This is what you do professionally. So go both stories, okay? Fights scheduled for what day? July 20th? Okay, July 20th at midnight, stories written. Mike Tyson knocks out Jake Paul, okay? Midnight, July 20th, stories written. Jake Paul knocks out Mike Tyson. July 20th, midnight, decision, Jake. Decision, Mike, okay? Whatever. Which one is a bigger deal? Is it a bigger deal if Mike beats Jake Paul or Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson?
So to use history as our trajectory to the future and to use Mike, Evander Holyfield. Some of the most famous fights ever, Mike versus Evander. But Evander fought a guy from MMA, Vitor Belfort, who was just a great fighter. But Vitor was not a boxer. He was good at boxing, but he wasn't a boxer. And they boxed roughly 2 years ago. It wasn't long after Tyson versus Roy Jones. And it was flat scary. Evander should not have been in there. He could not move. He couldn't move by the way of punches. He couldn't move offensively. They had shown some training footage of him, and the commission took massive heat for allowing this to happen. And the commission had to come forward. I think it was here in Florida, by the way. It was off the top of my head. Yeah, this was him, and people thought, okay, he's playing this for the cameras. He's playing slow. He's playing like he's learning these techniques. I thought it too. I mean, I look at him. He looks good. That's Evander Holyfield. I just saw Mike do it. Mike looked pretty good. I also thought that this was gamesmanship. And Vitor Belfort, who has never boxed, put him away so fast.
Oh, wow.
This is an Olympic gold medalist you're watching. Vitor, who had never done it, put him away so fast that it ended Vitor's career. They would not book him again. They labeled him like an elderly abuser. How dare you? How could you do this? Vitor never got another fight. Vitor's training. He's right
What
in
a
Florida.
perspective.
He couldn't get it. So that's just the thing that you deal with in fighting that Jake Paul will be up against. He'll get teased for taking this fight, for one. He'll get teased for that. He'll work himself through that. But, if he goes out there and cleans his clock, they're going to come down on him.
They're going to come down on Jake.
Yeah.
Now, if Mike wins, what's the story? Like the greatest, unbelievable Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll really be something. I believe that was Florida on Evander, but wherever it was, I'm quite sure it was, but wherever it was, that commission took a lot of heat for allowing that to happen. Hey, you've got footage. You saw this for the world. You were not without knowledge. You're experts in the space, and you should have let him fight. And this was a thing. And there was really nobody to raise up and sue or take them on. But if they would have, Evander would have. They would have lost. And I only say this to you because that will be the next part of ESPN's story. Who's sanctioning this? How many rounds is it? Is it licensed? What weight are they going to go? Mike Tyson's never fought anything but heavyweight. Jake Paul's never fought anything but 185 pounds. Most commissions will only let you move up one weight class. That would be a representative of 3 weight classes, which isn't legal unless you throw in this made-up word of exhibition.
How old was George Foreman?
And by the way,
his
I
last
can't bang
fight?
on this too much in case ESPN's carrying it, right? Like, I got to do my job and sell it. But
no, it's Netflix.
Oh, it is Netflix.
Well,
All right.
George Foreman fought until, I want to say, his 50s.
Yeah, won the world title. 49.
Okay, so, but George Foreman, Mike Tyson, a lot of comparisons there. Big, badass dudes. I could be dead wrong. I don't see a Mike Tyson legacy, baddest man on the planet. And PBD's interviewed him multiple times. He's been on the podcast. I don't see how he can just go take an L to Jake Paul. Legacy on the line?
But
What?
Adam, but 30 years his senior, like he's
Buddy,
30 years older.
Sometimes grandpa's got to whoop up on some kids.
I don't know, bro. The engine has to be slow. You like think about it. Right now, I get out of breath running to the bathroom here. Imagine 60 years old.
Vanny, with all due respect, you're not Mike Tyson.
Adam, but guess what? Age is still, he's 60 years old.
Sure.
It's
58. So you think
Who do you have? Who do you have? Who do you have in the fight?
I have Jake Paul, but I will tell you,
Damn.
I'm fascinated by the Mike Tyson story. Like, I thought he looked pretty good against Roy Jones. Roy then came out and fought an MMA guy who I'm good friends with, Anthony Pettis, and Anthony beat Roy. So I thought, well, maybe Mike and Roy wasn't quite what I thought it was. And then Evander had come out, and Evander got cleaned up to the point that it ended Vitor's career. Nobody will book him anymore. So my point is, to quite know where Mike out is a little bit tough, which brings you to why is Mike doing it? And when he fought Roy, he got a very good payday, but he was offered, and this is before Evander fought Vitor, and we knew he was offered $20 million to fight Evander. And I feel like that would have fixed his life. Like, I lost to guys in high school. I never was a state champion. I was second. If I go back and do that match again right now, even at 45 years old, I would go take on Doug Lee right now. And I feel like Mike would have too, particularly for $20 million. And he didn't. He passed on it. I then, to insert myself, got offered a fight with Mike in Abu Dhabi. They were going to pay me $2 million, which is a ton. I've never boxed before, but I got to fight Mike. They're going to pay him $12 million.
Jeez.
And we had an LOI and everything's going behind the scenes. And it was his wife pulled it and said, nope, he's never going to fight again.
Really?
And he did it. He not
How
only
long ago was that?
didn't fight. It was right after the Roy Jones fight, about 6 months
Wow.
after that, which in my head is about 2 or 3
We
years.
watched the Roy Jones Mike Tyson fight at your house in Boca at the time.
Roy was running.
No, Tyson beat his ass.
Oh, no. But they gave a decision.
They gave a tie, and we looked at each other like, "Come on, man, tie." And Roy Jones looked out of shape.
And then at the best part of the whole thing was at the end of the fight, he's like, well, you know, respect to you, the fact that you're showing up like this, Roy Jones, and you look, for your age.
Jim Gray interviewed him, yeah.
And then Mike's like, wait a minute, am I like?
Yeah.
Do you realize I'm older? Like, what was the age difference between the two? Rob, go a little lower.
Roy Jones is probably in his late 40s.
Yeah, Mike was older. Mike's like, why are you acting like he's the old guy? I'm the old guy. I'm 54. But no, I mean, first of all, Jake Paul. The fact that he pulls this off to put it together, you got to give it to these brothers on how good of a job they're doing promoting.
Sure. Oh, he's selling out arenas. He had Madison Square Garden booked against Tyson Fury's brother. They ended up canceling the show, but he had Madison Square Garden booked, with a $1 million gate. He beat Anderson Silva. He beat Tyron Woodley. I mean, he can box. He's a very hard worker. I even wondered to give him credit. Like, where does he find the time? I mean, it takes a long time to be in shape to do something like that, particularly for 8 or 9 or 10 rounds, which is what he fought Nate Diaz for. And where does he have that time? He appears to be very busy. He does a lot of stuff like this, and he's got his hand in a few things. And you have to put those hours in. He must be putting those hours in. He must be up early, and he must be.
The numbers showed the Holyfield fight against Vitor sold 150,000 pay-per-view tickets. Okay, pay-per-view fight. So on this one, Mike Jake, what do you think something like this is going to do?
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. They could do $1 million. $1 million in pay-per-view a decade ago would be what it would do. That's a totally different business now with digital and the way they're doing it, not to mention all the streaming and the TikTok is stealing content. It's a very different world, but that's why I'm going back to why is Mike doing this? That's why I'm having a hard time with the article. If it wasn't ESPN.com, I would be saying, we're getting roasted here.
It can be massive.
What's he getting paid, Rob? Is it shown what he's getting paid?
I'd be very, how much do you think, Adam, if you had to guess, how much do you think?
He said he'd do it
50 million?
for $12 million. This is a $20 million fight.
But this is
no
Netflix
doubt.
just throws away money, bro.
Okay, so here you go. It's Hollywood Reporter 1 hour ago. Terms of the deal streamed to the match were not disclosed. Rob, if you just go to Hollywood Reporter, you'll see it here. Source familiar with the deal framed it as being significant for past recent fights. Paul and Tyson have been guaranteed payouts in the single-digit millions while also securing a percentage of the pay-per-view revenue. So, I mean, that's single digits is definitely not going to be $2 million. Could it be $5 to $9 million? Okay, and then if you're able to promote it and drive it.
Percentage of revenue. That's the big one right there.
Jake knows how to do it. Jake knows how to sell and
fully agree.
But Pat, it's on Netflix. So how's it pay-per-view if it's on Netflix?
You go pay for Netflix.
No, but I'm saying, but I mean, like pay-per-view is like for the event. If it's on Netflix, whoever has Netflix is watching it.
The match will include, for all Netflix subscribers, though, tickets will be sold to fill the 80,000-seat arena, AT&T Dallas.
In Texas.
There will also be a co-main event and undercard bouts. Go a little low, Rob.
And they're going to use a pay-per-view model as well with Netflix.
Mike Tyson, one of the biggest icons, Jake Paul, and gives on Saturday, July 20, pure drama in Texas. Okay, he's promoting it. The boxing match is significant expansion. Netflix's live sports strategy. The streaming giant inked a 10-year deal with WWE valued at $5 billion in January, but executives noted that at the time that WWE blurs the line between sports and entertainment. Instead, Mike Tyson Jake Paul is a little closer to Netflix Slam, which saw tennis star Carlos Alcaraz against Nadal face off in Las Vegas this past weekend, or the Netflix Cup, which was very interesting direction Netflix is going. Yeah. Good for them. Yeah. I'm actually really curious. By the way, the night you made $8.8 million, how many buys did you guys have?
We had, it was under $1 million, but it was close. We called it $1 million. If you ever hear me tell the story, but it wasn't. But it was just under. It was 936. It was something along these lines.
Well, one more thing, Chael, with... You kind of went who Jake has fought in the past. The criticism of Jake is that he's fighting these sort of washed up UFC guys. He beat up your boy Ben Askren, your guy, Tyrone Woodley.
Anderson.
But the one guy he lost to was an actual boxer, which was Tyson Fury's brother. Tommy Fury. There's got to be some element of a boxer, Mike Tyson, versus a UFC guy, no?
I would sure think so. I mean, I hear everything that you're saying, and I tend to lean in that same direction. I remember when I got the call and I agreed to fight Tyson, as much bravado as I had, I remember feeling that in my stomach, go, oh man, like that's a tough night out, and they were going to do it in Abu Dhabi, and they're going to put it on a rooftop. It's kind of like this crazy idea. I would tell you what, I wasn't showing up except for the money. I mean, I had that, man, he goes to the body, and he goes, and I called my coach. I said, can I beat this guy? And he said, man, he's 50 years old. We'll whip this guy, champ. Let's get to work. But I wasn't necessarily feeling that inside. So I tend to lean towards you, that it is a sport, that there is a science, that experience does matter. I didn't think he looked that bad against Roy. But then when Roy went on and lost to, a 145-pounder and Evander ended up getting beat, I thought, well, maybe I got to look at that again. I don't know. Everything about this surprises me. They're not going to fill up 80,000. That's just simply not. This is a neat story. The fact that Patrick's covering is probably the biggest press they're going to get, because Mike's not going to help him. He's not going to jump in there and pitch in and start doing media tours. That's never what he's done. And how's Jake going to tell the story? He's going to get the same criticism he always has, that you're fighting this older guy without experience. Jake had a fight on Saturday. Mike had a fight, which we're discussing, was either 2 or 3 years ago, and none of us can seem to remember. And before that, it was a career ago. So I'm just saying, like, this is not a massive fight. What I'm most interested in is the Netflix component of it. Saudi Arabia is throwing that kind of money that could get Mike's attention. You know, they flew him out for the show that I told you I was at a week ago just to be there. And I would imagine that was a pretty healthy ticket. You probably had to fly in private. And my point is, if they're not the ones funding it, and we don't know for sure what pay-per-view is going to do, and nobody's selling no fight is selling 80,000 seats, I don't know where this money's coming. I'm a little surprised that Mike wouldn't go beat me up on a rooftop.
Is the fight? Where is the fight?
For more
Dallas
than single digits.
Dallas Cowboys.
okay.
This is AT&T. So if 80,000, you need a storyline and a conflict, right? How is Jake going to be able to spin this storyline and a conflict? Okay, so how would you do it? You get this. You have to sell this ticket. You're about who, what, when, where, why. How would you take this angle if you're Jake?
This is a very tough one. Here's what most promoters do, is what we're seeing right here, versus what Dana White does. Dana White, for one night, will make less money, but it will always be a play into something else. He will not put on a fight that doesn't have at least a what if that he can then parlay into a next fight. He will always have a story. If it's not for a championship, it's got to be a personal feud. If it's not a personal feud, it's got to be a contendership. Like, there's rules to it. The problem with this fight, which promoters make this all the time, there's no significance.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.